Welcome to episode 49 of the POG Show, the Port Orange Government Podcast. I am your host, Mike Springer, the Public Information Officer for the City of Port Orange. And today we are going to talk a little bit about our Victim Advocate program here in Port Orange. And I'm joined by Julie Fletcher, one of our victim advocates. Julie, welcome.
Thank you. Hi, everyone.
And Julie, so you're fairly new to the Victim Advocate's office. You've only been here for about 6 months. Tell me a little bit about you. Where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Fairfax County, Virginia. When I was in Fairfax County, I was in law enforcement. So I've got a total of 14 years of law enforcement experience in Fairfax County, Virginia. I relocated to Florida in 2014.
You've been here a few years now, kind of in the Port Orange area, and now, last 6 months you've been working over at the Victims Advocate office. What kind of drew you to them?
I've always been involved in the criminal justice. The majority of my professional career was in the criminal justice system. I did take off a couple years to raise my children. I have 3 children. Once I went back to work here in Florida, I worked for the state attorney's office for some time and the Department of Children and Families. And when I saw the advertisement for Victim Advocate for the Port Orange Police Department, I knew that would be something I would like to do.
And for people who aren't familiar with it, what is the Victims Advocate office? What do they do?
So in the simplest way to describe it, we offer assistance to victims of crime or provide assistance to victims of crime. And there's several different ways that we do that. But I can start with how our day...
Yeah, how do you... So you go into the office, how do you typically decide who might need your services?
So we get what is called passed on from the patrol officers who have taken reports the prior shifts, and we pull those reports and make contact with the victims of those crimes.
Is it all crimes, certain crimes, or what kind of crimes are you getting involved with? It's
all crimes, but we do focus on battery and domestic battery, especially domestic battery.
And I'm sure you see a lot of scams too, so there's probably a lot of financial victims as well.
And we will reach out to those victims and try to offer assistance or advice in those situations.
When you're talking about assistance, what kind of things what kind of resources are available to help kind of offer victims, whether it's a victim of a violent crime or a scam, or let's just start with victims of violent crimes. What are some of the things that you would kind of do or work with them on to help them?
So one of the most important things that we do is what is called assisting a victim with getting an injunction for protection. There are 5 different types of injunctions for protection in Florida. There is injunctions against domestic violence, against dating violence, against stalking, against repeat violence, and against sexual violence. So if we get a report of a domestic battery, we will reach out to that victim and explain that process to the victim.
Because it's probably a difficult process if you've never gone through it before. It could be probably confusing with some of the court things you have to do and the terminology they're using.
Yes, so it starts with a petition, and the petition is normally 5 or 6 pages long. If there are children involved, it might be a couple more pages long just because you're dealing with custody issues and support. So it starts with the victim coming into the station, and we do have the paperwork at the station, and we sit down with the victim and we assist them in filling out the petition. The majority of the petition is checking boxes and filling in blanks, but there is a narrative section of the petition, and we assist the victims with help writing the narrative. And the narrative, you have to explain to the judge why you need this injunction for protection and what has occurred.
And these injunctions are basically like a no contact order, essentially, or?
Yes. So with cases of battery, if the suspect has been identified and arrested, they will go to what is called first appearance, and that's within 24 hours. And during first appearance, the judge will set a bond or decide to hold the defendant until arraignment, and arraignment's usually 21 days from first appearance. But something that the judge will also do in cases of battery is grant what is called a no contact order. The issue with no contact orders is normally they're only in effect through the duration of the criminal case. So the criminal case, like I said, will start with first appearance, then arraignment. At arraignment, either a pretrial or trial date will be set, which will be probably a couple months from arraignment. And once the case has gone to trial and sentencing, the no contact order would no longer be in effect. So it's important for victims of domestic violence or dating violence or stalking to go through the injunction process. So like I said, it starts with filling out the petition. And once the petition is completed.
And are you there kind of every step of the way with them, kind of guiding them through that process, helping them, whether it's through kind of understanding the legal side of it or even offering them that emotional support they may need?
Yes. So we're there with them through the entire process. So after the petition is completed, they take the petition to the courthouse located at 125 East Orange Avenue in Daytona Beach. The clerk's office is on the first floor. It's free to file. They file the petition, and they normally get an answer from the judge within a few hours, whether it's been denied. There's one of three ways. There could be one of three outcomes: that it's denied, it could be denied with a hearing, or a temporary injunction would be granted with a hearing 2 weeks out. So we attend those hearings if it's granted, or even if it's denied with a hearing, we will attend those hearings with the victim to offer emotional support. They're very nervous, so just preparing them for those hearings. We will transport them if they need transportation to those hearings. We will transport them to those hearings.
From what you've seen, I mean, how helpful has that been? To have somebody there who can help walk people through this process, give them that kind of shoulder to lean on too if they need it.
It's extremely helpful. It sets the victims at ease. Like I said, they're normally very nervous, and just having an advocate there to just show them where to go and what to expect when they go into the courtroom. And with these hearings, the victim can be there anywhere from 30 minutes to a few hours. So the longer that it's been my experience, the longer a victim has to wait. Sometimes the more nervous they get. So just being with them, talking to them, even if you're just chit-chatting with them about their day or what, it just sets their mind at ease. And so just providing them that emotional support to help them through that.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be really important to have that, because I'm sure it's a difficult process to go through and trying to navigate the legal system on top of dealing with, what had happened there with that incident. So having somebody there probably goes a long way in helping them, because you're there from step one all the way to the end, essentially.
Yes.
And then I know you're talking a little bit earlier with us, and one of the things you brought up is another kind of crime that you're seeing a little bit more of is those financial crimes, those cyber scams too, that have been popping up. So you kind of help victims in those crimes as well with Bitcoin and things like that.
Yes. And we try to assist in educating the public, because that is the cryptocurrency Bitcoin scams really are affecting the citizens of the city of Port Orange. And if someone is not familiar with how those scams work, what we're seeing is that someone will receive a call and the scammer will identify themselves as someone from a law enforcement agency, and direct them to withdraw a large sum of money from their bank account and go deposit it into a Bitcoin machine that's located in some of the gas station convenience stores. And like I was telling you guys before, I actually had to go, I went and looked at one because I had to visualize what it looked like. So, and it looks like a normal ATM machine. So that that is like one of the biggest scams that we're seeing. So
is that like probably the most common type of victim you're incurring right now? Is it those, crypto scam victims who've maybe had somebody call them pretending to be from the FBI or the IRS, and they'll lose thousands of dollars?
Yes. They'll tell them there's a warrant for their arrest, or they'll tell them there's a warrant for their family member's arrest, but that they can take care of it without being arrested. All they have to do is go withdraw, $10,000 and deposit it into the Bitcoin ATM machine.
So what's the process with them? How do you help those victims out? What's step one when you first get a victim of one of those crypto crimes? What do you do?
In those type of cases, those cases would be turned over to our detectives that would investigate and try to help the victims possibly retrieve any losses. Although it's a timing thing. So if several hours have gone by, chances are the money's gone. But as I would, if I was talking to a victim of one of those scams, I would advise them, if you receive another call like that, wherever entity that the person is identifying themselves with, I would hang up the phone and actually call that law enforcement entity. Or if they're saying the IRS, I would reach out to that law enforcement entity or the Internal Revenue Service or the FBI and say, I just received this call. I'm trying to find out if it's legitimate. They can even call our non-emergency dispatch number at 386-248-1777, option 3, and speak to an officer and say, I just got this phone call. And an officer will speak to them. They can even call our office, the Victim Advocate Office, too. So, and our number is 386-506-5820. So,
but yeah, if anything sounds suspicious or a little bit off, it's always best, like you said, to kind of hang up that call, end it right there, and then try to verify that information before you make any kind of moves financially.
Exactly. And what I noticed on the Bitcoin machine that I went to take a look at, there's warnings on there. There was like 3 warning stickers that warn people to contact their financial institution or before making the deposit, and just warning them that if they had received a call and someone has directed them to that ATM, it is most likely a scam.
Are there any resources out there to help those victims, or what kind of services are available for those victims who maybe are victimized by a financial crime?
The only compensation that I'm aware of is victim compensation through the Florida Attorney General's office, but that's more along the lines of batteries and some property crimes, but it's very strict criteria. The person has to be over the age of 60 or disabled, and it's limited on how much they can receive back. So the property loss victim compensation through the Florida Attorney General's office, it is strict criteria in order to qualify.
But the best thing to do is, if you have something like that and you feel you were scammed, is just to reach out to the police department directly and just start that investigation and contact your financial institution as well.
Yes.
How common are these crimes? Are you seeing a lot of more victims with these crimes than other crimes, or like what's your demographic? Are you primarily seeing more domestic violence victims, or who would you say the majority of your clients are?
I would say, I mean, it's pretty. It's probably pretty even, like what we see on a daily basis with.
Well, those are probably your 2 biggest: domestic violence and then crypto crime are the 2 largest segments of victims you're coming
right
from
now. Right. And, we do have victims of burglary and theft, those type of crimes.
You run the whole gamut, from, if my house is broken into and I'm victimized there, if I'm a victim of domestic violence or even a crypto scam, anything within that range, you're helping out and assisting those people who may have been affected by any kind of crime in our community.
Yes.
And if people do want help from the Victim Advocate's office, or can they contact you, or how do they reach out to get services from you all?
They can give us a call at our number at 386-506-5820. We're there Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. So we're there to answer anyone's questions or assist any victim.
And do you need volunteers at all or people to help with these
We're
cases?
always looking for volunteers. So if somebody's interested in volunteering with the Victim Advocate Office, they can reach out.
What are some of the things the volunteers would do? What are some of the tasks or jobs? Is it all administrative? Do they actually go out with you on the calls, or kind of what are some of the different jobs available to volunteers?
So they can be on what is called we have a 24-hour call-out schedule. So depending on if they're interested in doing that, but mainly they are in the office doing light clerical work, making phone calls, answering phones. But we do have volunteers because the Victim Advocate Office does maintain a 24-hour call-out schedule, and that's for situations where a patrol officer believes that a victim needs immediate assistance, and they will call for a victim advocate to respond to the scene. And those type of situations, it may be providing shelter to a victim of domestic violence, a child left alone or wandering, or the parents have been arrested. So we would pick those children up, take them back to the station until DCF responds. We get called out for death calls to offer emotional support and information for and volunteers that want to do that can. So
is there any background or skill
yes,
set they need, or
I believe that we would look for someone with a type of background that would fit, and they would go through like an application process and a background check.
Okay, but if they're interested, they're curious about the process, just give the office a call there and they can start getting the ball rolling on that and see if there's a good fit there.
Yes.
Julie, anything you wanted to touch upon or bring up that you think people should know about the Victim Advocate's Office, or kind of the services you offer over there that you want to get out to the community?
We help with the injunction process. We help with the victim compensation process through the Florida Attorney General's office if someone has incurred medical costs or if they need to seek counseling. The program through the Florida Attorney General's office also covers wage losses if you've had to miss work due to being a victim of a crime. You've had a family member that was a victim of a homicide, they compensate for burial expenses. So that is something that we assist victims of crime. We have a database of resources with this area of for struggling seniors, seniors that are trying to maintain their independence. We have resources if that senior needs extra assistance in order to remain in their home. We also provide resources for family members if their loved one is suffering from dementia. We have a list of resources in the area to help out with that.
So it's not just people with crimes, but other people in the community who may be needing help, whether, like you said, it's assistance for living conditions or medical conditions. There's different resources that they can tap into by reaching out to you and maybe connecting them with those other groups that are out there in our community that can help.
Yes.
Thank you, Julie, for coming on. We appreciate it. And it's always fascinating to kind of learn and see what our Victims Advocates Office is doing there. And Mick, take us on out.